Portland, Oregon, 1981, the heyday of arcades, neon lights, and the golden age of video gaming. Every corner of the city seemed to glow with the electronic hum of Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Space Invaders. But in the heart of this bustling scene, tucked away in a small, dingy arcade on the outskirts of town, a new game had mysteriously appeared, Polybius. Danny Roberts was an average 15-year-old, spending most of his free time in the Grid, the local arcade where he and his friends would gather after school. The Grid was a haven for the city's youth, filled with the latest and greatest in video game technology. One evening, as Danny wandered the arcade, he noticed a new machine he had never seen before. The cabinet was sleek and black, with the name Polybius emblazoned in bright, green letters. It stood out among the other machines, exuding a strange, magnetic allure. Curious, Danny approached the game and slipped a quarter into the slot. As the screen flickered to life, Danny was immediately captivated. The graphics were unlike anything he had ever seen, intricate patterns of light and color that seemed to pulse and move with a life of their own. The gameplay was mesmerizing, a blend of puzzle solving and reflex challenges that drew him in deeper and deeper. Within minutes, Danny felt an odd sensation wash over him. It was as if the game was reaching out to him, pulling him into its digital world. The lights on the screen seemed to seep into his mind, filling him with a sense of euphoria and dread. He couldn't tear himself away. Days turned into weeks, and Danny's obsession with Polybius grew. He spent every spare moment at the Grid, pumping quarters into the machine, losing himself in its hypnotic glow. His friends noticed the change in him. He became withdrawn, his eyes constantly bloodshot and tired. "Hey, Danny, you okay?" his friend Mike asked one afternoon, concerned. "Yeah, I'm fine," Danny replied, his voice distant. "Just tired, I guess." But Danny knew it was more than that. He couldn't explain it, but Polybius had a hold on him. It was all he could think about, even when he wasn't at the arcade. He began to have strange dreams, vivid and disturbing visions of the game's patterns and shapes swirling around him, consuming him. Danny wasn't the only one affected. Other kids who played Polybius reported similar experiences, headaches, dizziness, and an overwhelming sense of unease. Rumors began to spread about the game, whispers of government experiments and mind control. Some claimed to have seen men in black suits hanging around the arcade, watching the players. One night, Danny woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. He had dreamed of the game again, but this time it felt different. The patterns had formed into faces, twisted and malevolent, whispering his name. He decided he needed answers. Danny began to dig deeper into the origins of Polybius. He asked the arcade owner, Mr. Jacobs, about the game, but the old man seemed strangely evasive. "Just another game," he muttered, avoiding Danny's gaze. "Nothing special." Undeterred, Danny reached out to his friends for help. Mike, ever the conspiracy theorist, suggested they break into the Grid after hours to take a closer look at the machine. Reluctantly, Danny agreed. That night, they snuck into the arcade, armed with flashlights and a toolkit. The place was eerily silent, the usual cacophony of game sounds replaced by an oppressive stillness. They made their way to the Polybius machine and pried open the back panel. Inside, they found a maze of wires and circuits, unlike any other arcade game they had seen. At the heart of the machine was a small, black box, humming with a low, ominous frequency. "What's that?" Mike whispered, reaching out to touch it. "Don't," Danny warned, grabbing his friend's hand. "We don't know what it could do." But it was too late. As Mike's fingers brushed against the box, a surge of electricity shot through him, throwing him back against the wall. The lights in the arcade flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as Danny scrambled to his feet, his flashlight beam dancing wildly around the room. Mike lay unconscious on the floor, a faint moan escaping his lips. Danny rushed to his side, shaking him desperately. "Mike! Wake up!" Suddenly, a voice filled the room, low and mechanical, reverberating through the darkness. "You shouldn't have done that." Danny's blood ran cold. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, echoing off the walls. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice trembling. "Leave," the voice commanded. "Leave now, and never return." Terrified, Danny grabbed Mike and dragged him towards the exit. As they stumbled out into the night, the arcade doors slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing in the still air. Mike was rushed to the hospital, where he remained unconscious for several days. When he finally woke, he had no memory of what had happened. Danny, on the other hand, couldn't forget. The voice haunted his every waking moment, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked within Polybius. Determined to uncover the truth, Danny continued his investigation, reaching out to anyone who might know more about the game. He found online forums and chat rooms filled with stories similar to his own, players who had experienced strange symptoms, mysterious disappearances, and unexplained phenomena. But the more he learned, the more elusive the truth became. Every lead he followed seemed to end in a dead end, every question met with silence or denial. As the weeks passed, Danny's obsession with Polybius consumed him. He spent hours poring over documents, studying electrical schematics, and interviewing anyone who had ever played the game. His grades slipped, his relationships strained, and his health deteriorated. One night, unable to sleep, he found himself drawn back to the grid. The arcade was closed, but he broke in, driven by a desperate need for answers. He approached the Polybius machine, his hands trembling. "I know you're in there," he whispered, his voice shaking. "What do you want?" The screen flickered to life, the familiar patterns swirling before his eyes. The voice returned, cold and emotionless. "You cannot stop us." Danny felt a wave of nausea wash over him, the pattern seeping into his mind once more. He tried to pull away, but his body wouldn't obey. The game had him in its grip, and it wasn't letting go. In the following days, Danny was nowhere to be found. His parents filed a missing persons report, and the town rallied together in search efforts, but no trace of him was ever discovered. The grid's owner, Mr. Jacobs, claimed ignorance, insisting he knew nothing about the boy's disappearance or the strange game. But the rumors persisted. People whispered about the cursed machine, the dark force behind it, and the players who had vanished into thin air. The Polybius machine was eventually removed from the grid, taken away by men in black suits who offered no explanation. Years passed, and the legend of Polybius faded into obscurity, becoming just another urban myth in the annals of video game history. But those who had experienced its horrors never forgot. The game left a scar on their minds, a lingering fear of the unknown. In a quiet corner of a forgotten warehouse, the Polybius machine sat, gathering dust. The patterns on its screen remained dormant, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to awaken them. And somewhere in the depths of the machine, Danny's voice echoed, trapped in an endless loop of digital torment.